A bear finds a baby in a car crash, takes him to the forest, and what happens next will shock you. In the chilling mountain air of Henryson, Wyoming, the Harper family navigated a dangerous mountain road in their SUV. David Harper clenched the steering wheel, tension evident in his white-knuckled grip. Beside him, his wife, Emily, stared intently ahead, while their young son, Lucas, aged 2, slept quietly in the back seat, oblivious to the risky drive. Initially just a light sprinkle, the rain intensified, pelting down heavily and blurring David's view. The continuous sweep of the wipers did little to ease his growing anxiety. Exhaustion was creeping in after hours on the road. "Perhaps we should stop for a while," Emily murmured, her voice low. "No, we're close now, just a bit further," David replied, dismissing the idea. "If you're captivated by this tale, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Stay tuned for more." As the vehicle swerved around a sharp curve, the tires skidded on the slick surface, slipping out of David's control. Despite his efforts to stabilize it, the SUV spun out of control, tumbling off the road and down a steep slope. It flipped several times before finally coming to a halt, crumpled and wedged against a large pine tree. For a brief moment, there was nothing but the soft sound of raindrops hitting the leaves, creating a deceptive peace. Suddenly, a faint cry pierced the quiet. Lucas, securely fastened in his car seat, started to whimper, his young mind confused and scared by the upheaval. Nearby, David and Emily were knocked out cold, ensnared in the twisted metal. A steady stream of blood seeped from a cut on David's forehead, and Emily's arm was twisted into an unnatural position. The surrounding forest stood dark and silent, devoid of any other vehicles or signs of assistance. Lucas's increasing wails reverberated through the cool, moist air of the night. Something in the shadows stirred in response. Drawn by the child's distress and the smell of blood, a grizzly bear, the unchallenged sovereign of this territory, made its way to the scene. Its muscles flexed under its dense fur as it cautiously approached the mangled vehicle. The bear's sensitive nose twitched as it absorbed the strange smells of gasoline, rubber, and human blood. As it neared, Lucas's crying ceased, replaced by a captivated silence. The toddler gazed in wonder as the giant animal loomed at the shattered window, its breath clouding the glass. With an unexpected delicacy, the bear pried open the crushed door with its large paws. It sniffed at Lucas, who sat motionless, spellbound by the bear's proximity. Then, defying what seemed like natural predator instinct, the bear gently removed the car seat from the debris, with Lucas still securely fastened. Holding the car seat carefully in its jaws, the bear retreated back into the shadows of the forest. In an instant, the darkness enveloped the crash site, obscuring the remarkable rescue that had just occurred. It was hours later when the shrill sound of sirens broke the night's silence. Emergency responders arrived, their lights casting a stark contrast against the devastation. Paramedics tirelessly extracted David and Emily from the debris, thankful to find them alive, though severely injured. However, a grim discovery soon overshadowed their relief. Lucas was missing from the vehicle. The sight of large bear tracks nearby sent shivers through the rescue team, the dreadful implications of what might have occurred filling them with dread. As the sun began to rise over the mountains, the small town of Henryson was abuzz with the news of the accident and the vanished child, prompting the community to form search parties and hold on to hope for a miraculous outcome. Unbeknownst to them, deep in the wilderness, Lucas was under the watchful eye of an unexpected protector. Far removed from any human touch, the grizzly bear transported Lucas to a remote cave. The bear maneuvered with unexpected tenderness, ensuring that the car seat was securely held in its strong jaws until they reached the cave's shadowy, damp confines. Inside, Lucas's gaze shifted between fear and awe as the bear gently placed the car seat on a makeshift bed of moss and leaves. While still buckled in, he watched the bear pace the cave, emitting soft grunts. Surprisingly, the young boy displayed no signs of panic. Instead, his face lit up with curiosity as daylight began to seep into the cave. Lucas's small hands reached out curiously toward the bear, which had now settled close by. Their eyes locked, and a profound bond seemed to form, transcending their natural roles as prey and predator. The bear's powerful paw, typically a lethal weapon capable of downing a mature elk with a single blow, now exhibited a gentle touch. With careful movements, it loosened the straps of the car seat, liberating young Lucas. The child clumsily crawled out and tentatively reached his small hand to touch the bear's rough fur. Far from pulling away, the creature leaned into the gentle caress, a deep rumble emanating from its throat, resonating throughout the cave. Lucas's laughter, pure and joyful, reverberated against the cave's rocky walls. Throughout the day, the bear ventured out, periodically returning with berries and roots, which it chewed thoughtfully before offering to Lucas. The boy ate willingly, his survival instincts now seemingly intertwined with a deep-seated trust in his unusual titan. Meanwhile, the search efforts for Lucas in Henryson had ramped up considerably. Helicopters roared overhead as they scanned the vast wilderness, and ground teams meticulously sifted through the thick underbrush. Among them was Henry Morgan, a veteran hunter and tracker with profound knowledge of the local terrain. He had stepped forward to help as soon as he heard about the missing child, driven by his extensive experience in these mountains. As he traced a subtle path through the foliage, he pondered the unsettling bear tracks found near the accident. "It doesn't make sense," he murmured, pausing to inspect a snapped twig. "A grizzly wouldn't—" His contemplation was cut short by the static burst of his radio. "Henry, come in. Any sign of the boy?" The voice crackled urgently. He pressed the button on his microphone. "No sign yet, but I have a suspicion. I'm venturing further into North Ridge, where there's a series of caves that could be promising." "Roger that. Stay alert, Henry. The latest weather update indicates a storm is approaching." Henry acknowledged the caution and continued his journey. Traversing the increasingly harsh landscape, he felt an unusual sense of urgency. As a veteran in wilderness tracking, he trusted his instincts implicitly, and they were intensely signaling that something remarkable was taking place in these mountains. Throughout the day, the sky gradually filled with dark clouds. The atmosphere thickened with the impending rain, and gusts of cold wind sliced through the foliage. Henry increased his speed, aware that finding Lucas before the storm hit was critical. Unbeknownst to him, less than a mile away, hidden beneath thick undergrowth in a cave, lay Lucas. The young boy was snuggled against the warm, large body of a grizzly bear, sleeping soundly with his hand gripping the bear's fur. The first drops of rain began to splash down, marking the onset of a severe storm that would challenge both human resilience and animal instincts. The distant thunder grew louder, and the bear lifted its head, attuned to the shift in weather. It gently nudged Lucas, as if to assure him of his safety. In that moment, the boundaries between a wild beast and a caring protector seemed to dissolve, paving the way for an extraordinary story of survival and unusual friendship. As the storm intensified, the mountains were shrouded in darkness. Thunder reverberated through the valleys, and lightning strikes sporadically lit up the thick woods, momentarily exposing the wild terrain. The heavy rain turned the ground into a slippery mudslide. Inside the cave, the noise of the storm awakened Lucas. His eyes opened wide in alarm with each thunderclap. Sensing Lucas's fear, the bear drew closer, positioning its hefty frame to shield him from the cave's entrance. Comforted by the bear's warmth and protective presence, Lucas buried his face in its fur. Amid the tumult of the storm, Lucas began to replicate the bear's deep, guttural noises, seemingly attempting to connect with his unlikely titan, expressing thanks and seeking comfort. The bear reciprocated with soft grunts, fostering an almost magical exchange between the child and the creature. Elsewhere, the search team battled the harsh weather. The relentless rain obscured visibility and erased any traces of Lucas's path, forcing many volunteers to retreat and seek cover from the perilous conditions. Yet Henry Morgan continued forward, his resolve firm. His extensive experience in these mountains bolstered his courage, not allowing severe weather to hinder his mission. As Henry made his way through the sodden earth and pelting rain, his thoughts drifted to a tale he'd been told long ago. It was an ancient legend from the Native Americans, who once inhabited these mountains, about spirit bears said to protect lost children. Although Henry had initially thought of it as just a myth, the mysterious circumstances of Lucas's disappearance made him ponder the possibility of truth in the old stories. The night wore on and the storm persisted relentlessly. Back in the cave, Lucas had drifted back to sleep, his small form nestled securely against the bear, breathing in rhythm with the large animal. The bear stayed vigilant, its senses sharp and ready to defend their refuge from any dangers that might emerge. Back in Henryson, David and Emily Harper remained hopeful in their hospital room. Still healing from their injuries, their thoughts were entirely consumed by their lost son. Emily held a photograph of Lucas tightly, her tears blending with the rain beating against the window. "He's out there," she whispered to David. "I can feel it. Our boy is still alive." David held her hand tighter, wanting to share her belief, but grappling with the harsh realities of logic and probability. "The search teams are giving their all, Emily. We need to trust in them." As the storm weakened during the night, the rain eased into a mild drizzle, and the winds calmed. By the faint light of early dawn, a trail marked by broken twigs, disturbed soil and remnants of berries emerged, visible only to an expert eye. Henry Morgan, with his extensive tracking skills, was precisely that. With the morning sun scattering the last vestiges of the storm clouds, he found the trail. He scrutinized the signs with a keen eye, battling with the implications of what he was uncovering. "This can't be," he murmured to himself, yet the evidence was undeniable. A bear had traversed this path, and it was not alone. The unmistakable signs of a small human companion were present. Heart-pounding, Henry relayed his discovery via radio. "Base camp, this is Dawson. I've found a trail. You won't believe this, but it seems the boy might be with a bear." The response from base camp came swiftly, filled with disbelief. "Henry, are you certain? That's just not feasible." "I understand how it sounds," Henry responded, his focus fixed on the trail ahead. "But I'm certain we're witnessing something remarkable. I'm going to continue tracking." "Send backup if possible, but they must be extremely careful. We can't risk startling the bear if it's actually with Lucas." With that, Henry resumed his pursuit along the mysterious trail, feeling an intense anticipation that he was close to uncovering a phenomenal event. Unbeknownst to him, this expedition would not only lead him to Lucas, but also profoundly alter his understanding of human interactions with the wild. As Henry Morgan moved deeper into the forest, the unusual trail left by Lucas and the bear guided him, and his thoughts drifted to a tale his grandfather had once shared, a legend transmitted through generations. This myth spoke of the mountain's ancient inhabitants who coexisted peacefully with nature, venerating bears as spiritual beings connected to the land and its people, serving as protectors to lost children by guiding them safely home. Though Henry had always been a man of practicality, valuing hard evidence and his own tracking skills over folklore, the baffling clues unfolding before him prompted a shift in his beliefs. Climbing a ridge, Henry stumbled upon an unexpected confirmation of these old stories. Carved into an aged boulder were petroglyphs depicting bears in upright stances, encircled by smaller human figures. Among these images, one stood out dramatically. A bear with a child mounted on its back, suggesting a deep historic bond between humans and these majestic creatures. "Well, I'll be damned," Henry murmured softly, tracing his fingers over the ancient carvings on the stone. The realization of what he was observing sent a chill through him. Could the old legends hold a kernel of truth? Deep within the forest, Lucas and his extraordinary companion progressed on their journey. The bear moved deliberately, as if guided by an invisible trail. Perched on the bear's sturdy back, Lucas began to make grunts and low noises, echoing the bear's communications. The young boy's actions subtly shifted. He grew more confident moving on all fours, his movements becoming smoother and more akin to those of his titan. Whenever the bear paused to forage, Lucas would descend and mimic its behavior, foraging for roots and berries with his little hands. As the afternoon advanced, the unlikely duo reached a fast-flowing river. The bear halted at the brink, contemplating the crossing. Sensing the bear's reluctance, Lucas comforted it with a gentle pat. a deeply human act that seemed to meld the natural divide between them. With cautious steps, the bear waded into the water, Lucas gripping its fur tightly. The boy's laughter, free and joyful, resonated against the canyon walls, transforming a potentially frightful experience into one of sheer delight. Back in Henryson, the search operation intensified. Henry's findings had rippled through the community, igniting a mix of skepticism and wonder. Despite doubts about a bear acting as a titan, Henry's proven track record lent credibility to his observations. Emily and David Harper, now discharged from the hospital, were present at the command center. Emily held onto the hope spurred by Henry's insights, while David, although hopeful, wrestled with accepting such an extraordinary scenario. "It just doesn't make sense," David mused, scrutinizing a map of the search area. "Bears are predators, not protectors. Why would one care for a human child?" Emily gently touched his arm, offering a comforting presence. "Perhaps there are mysteries in this world beyond our comprehension, David. Maybe this is a time for faith, not just understanding." As dusk enveloped the forest, casting elongated shadows through the trees, Henry Morgan reached the foot of a daunting cliff. The trail he had diligently followed came to a sudden halt, stirring a brief sense of defeat within him. Was this the end of the trail? However, upon closer examination of the cliff's rocky facade, Henry's spirits lifted. Hidden by dense vines was a cave entrance, accessible by a series of natural ledges and outcroppings, challenging for any human but potentially navigable for a bear. With a surge of adrenaline, Henry grabbed his radio. "Base camp, this is Dawson. I believe I've located them. There's a cave here that looks promising. I need backup, but ensure they proceed with utmost caution. We can't risk alarming the bear if it's sheltering Lucas inside." As Henry awaited the arrival of his team, he was consumed by a profound anticipation, feeling as if he were on the cusp of something monumental. The once clear boundaries between legend and reality now seemed increasingly intertwined, stirring a hope within him that the ancient stories might indeed hold truth. Unbeknownst to him, within the cave, an even more astounding scenario was playing out. Lucas, nestled against the bear, drifted into a deep sleep filled with visions. In his dreams, he saw vivid images of a time when humans and bears coexisted peacefully, sharing a bond that defied simple explanation. These visions, almost spiritual in nature, seemed to be whispers from the mountain itself, imparting ancient truths lost to modern civilization. As darkness enveloped the wilderness, an air of anticipation hung heavy over the night, setting the scene for a potentially critical encounter. By the time dawn broke across the mountain ridges, Henry Morgan led a select group of searchers toward the cave, each step filled with a mix of hope and trepidation. The crisp morning air crackled with tension as they neared the cave entrance, all members of the party uncertain of what awaited them within. Henry raised a hand, signaling for silence and caution. "Let me go in first," he whispered. "If the bear is inside with Lucas, we need to be very careful not to startle it." Moving slowly, Henry edged toward the cave's opening and cautiously peered inside, giving his eyes a moment to adapt to the dim light. His breath hitched as he took in the sight before him. At the back of the cave, a massive grizzly bear lay with Lucas Harper nestled against its side. The boy, though wearing tattered and soiled clothes, seemed remarkably peaceful and unharmed, his small hand gripping a tuft of the bear's fur securely. As Henry shifted slightly, the bear's massive head lifted, its dark eyes focusing intently on him. Instead of the expected aggression, Henry found something unexpected in the animal's gaze, an intelligence and what seemed to be genuine concern. "Easy now," Henry whispered, partly to calm himself as he slowly reached for his radio, maintaining eye contact with the bear. "Base camp. This is Dawson. I've found them. Lucas is alive, well, and unharmed. However, we're facing a delicate situation here." As he communicated this astonishing discovery to his team outside, Lucas began to awaken. His eyelids fluttered open, and upon seeing Henry, his expression mixed curiosity with a hint of exhaustion. Then, in a gesture that left Henry in awe, Lucas turned towards the bear and emitted a series of soft grunts, seemingly engaging in a tender communication with the creature. The bear responded with a gentle, rumbling nuzzle, reaffirming their extraordinary bond right before Henry's eyes. Lucas's laughter reverberated through the cavern, a clear, joyful sound that deeply moved Henry. He muttered under his breath, amazed, "Incredible, the old stories were right." News of Lucas's find spread like wildfire outside the cave. Before long, rescue teams, reporters, and spectators flooded the scene. David and Emily Harper, a blend of anxiety and anticipation on their faces, received updates anxiously. "Are you saying our son is inside with a grizzly bear?" David exclaimed in disbelief. "We need to rescue him immediately." Emily gently gripped his arm to calm him. "David, hold on. Henry has confirmed that Lucas is safe. Storming in might provoke the bear." As the situation intensified outside, Henry became the crucial go-between for the humans and the untamed nature inside the cave. He was acutely aware that any misstep could spell disaster. Softly, Henry called out to Lucas, "It's time to head back, buddy. Your mom and dad are here waiting." Lucas glanced from Henry to the bear, visibly conflicted as if caught between two realms. The bear, picking up on Lucas's hesitation, softly huffed and nudged him gently, encouraging movement. With tentative steps, Lucas started moving towards the mouth of the cave, pausing midway to look back at the bear with a soft whimper. Henry watched in wonder as the enormous creature followed, staying protectively close to Lucas as if offering comfort. As they stepped out of the cave, a collective gasp rose from the crowd gathered outside. The image of a small boy holding hands with a massive grizzly bear resembled a scene straight from a storybook. Emily dashed forward from the group, her voice trembling as she approached her son. "Stop!" she cried out, tears cascading down her cheeks. The bear stiffened, emitting a low growl, but Lucas gently touched its fur, uttering the same guttural noises Henry had previously heard inside the cave. Remarkably, the bear calmed down. Lucas took a few more steps and fell into his mother's embrace. Emily lifted him, clutching him closely as David reached them. Their reunion was filled with tears of joy and profound relief. However, Lucas continued to glance back at the bear, whimpering softly. The creature held its position, eyes fixed on the unfolding events with an expression of what Henry perceived as melancholy. As wildlife officials approached to sedate and move the bear, Henry intervened decisively. "Hold on," he shouted. "This bear didn't just accompany the boy, it saved his life. It chose to protect him when harm was an easy path. We must acknowledge its deed." His statement caused everyone to reflect. Witnessing Lucas safe in his parents' arms and the bear close by, Henry recognized the profundity of the moment. A rare intersection of human and animal realms, a link as ancient as the mountains surrounding them. The pressing question remained: how to respect this unique connection and its implications for the future interactions between humans and wildlife in Henryson Hole. In the aftermath of Lucas's astonishing rescue, the town of Henryson hummed with excitement. The tale of the young boy and his bear companion had caught the attention of the global media, drawing reporters and curious spectators from all corners of the globe. The Harper family found themselves at the epicenter of a storm of interviews, medical assessments, and briefings. Lucas appeared remarkably undisturbed by the frenzy surrounding him. Although he had emerged from the ordeal with only minor injuries and was in good health, his actions were what truly captivated the medical and psychological experts. In a vividly decorated playroom at the Henryson Hole Medical Center, Dr. Emily Chen, a child psychologist specializing in trauma, observed Lucas. She was struck by his peculiar behavior. He crawled adeptly on all fours and sniffed objects before touching them. "It's extraordinary," she commented quietly to Emily, who was seated close by. "He's displaying behaviors reminiscent of animals, almost as if he's mimicked the bear he was with." Emily, her expression a mixture of awe and concern, nodded. "He's also making these guttural noises when he's either distressed or thrilled, and adapting back to normal food has been challenging. He prefers berries and roots." Dr. Chen took detailed notes. While it's not unusual for children to develop atypical behaviors following trauma, Lucas's situation is truly unique. This could potentially transform our understanding of child psychology and their interactions with animals. Meanwhile, Henry Morgan, the man who had followed Lucas's trail and observed the unique connection between the boy and the bear, found himself unexpectedly in the limelight. He spent numerous hours sharing his story with wildlife authorities, researchers, and the press. During one interview, he leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I assure you," he asserted, "there was more to the bear's actions than mere instinct. It exhibited genuine intelligence and, I believe, a sense of compassion." The interviewer, looking dubious on a prominent national news broadcast, arched an eyebrow. "Mr. Dawson, are you actually suggesting that this grizzly, a predator by nature, made a conscious decision to protect a human child?" Henry held her gaze firmly. "It might seem far-fetched, and I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't witnessed it. But yes, I am saying that. I believe there's something more profound at play here, a connection that ties us to these mountains and their inhabitants." As Henry elaborated, his thoughts drifted to the petroglyphs he had stumbled upon during his search. He had yet to share this detail, worried it might cast doubt on his credibility. Meanwhile, at their residence, David Harper wrestled with the miracle of his son's return and the peculiarities surrounding it. He stood by the window, observing Lucas in the garden, methodically harvesting and consuming berries from a bush. "He hasn't started talking again," David murmured, as Emily approached and wrapped her arm around him. "It's like he's forgotten how to communicate." Emily consoled him. "Let's give it time. Dr. Chen mentioned his speech should come back as he adjusts. We need to be patient." David nodded, though his expression conveyed his ongoing concern. "And the bear? There's talk of relocating it. After everything it did for Lucas, that just seems wrong." The fate of the bear had sparked intense debate in Henryson. While some hailed it as a heroic figure, others feared the implications of a grizzly bear that had become familiar with humans living near the community. Linda Reeves, the leader of a local wildlife conservation group, was vocally advocating for the bear at a town hall meeting. "We have a unique opportunity here," she argued passionately, "to study and learn from this remarkable creature. Relocating it would be a tremendous error." However, not everyone shared this perspective. Sheriff Sam Bradley voiced his reservations, stating, "I acknowledge that the bear performed an extraordinary act, but we must remember it is a wild animal at heart. The safety of our community cannot be compromised." As the community grappled with these concerns, Lucas was making gradual progress in his reintegration. Each day, he would show small signs of recovery, uttering a word here, mimicking a human gesture there. Yet at night, his dreams transported him back to the forest, to the comforting presence of warm fur and kind eyes. He often awoke murmuring soft, bear-like sounds, searching for a companion who was no longer by his side. One dusky evening, as the sun dipped behind the Tetons, bathing the valley in a soft, golden light, Emily discovered Lucas at his bedroom window. He was gazing at the mountains, emitting a series of low grunts. "What do you see, sweetie?" she inquired, kneeling next to him. Lucas looked at her with earnest, wide eyes and pointed towards the mountains, murmuring, "Bear, bear." This was the first complete sentence Lucas had spoken since his ordeal, sending a shiver through Emily. The significance of his words was profound. Was it possible that Lucas still felt a deep connection to the bear that had shielded him? As night enveloped Henryson whole, the debate over the bear's fate and Lucas's adjustment to normal life intensified. But beyond these pressing issues, a deeper enigma was emerging, challenging the town's understanding of its relationship with the surrounding wilderness, and compelling them to reconsider ancient legends that now appeared startlingly tangible. A week following Lucas's rescue, the town convened for an urgent council meeting in the crowded town hall, with attendees overflowing into the street. The room was filled with key figures, including the Harper family, Henry Morgan, Sheriff Hawkins, and Linda Reeves, with Mayor Eleanor Thompson presiding. Her voice betrayed a hint of stress as she began, "We've gathered here to decide the future of the grizzly bear that played a pivotal role in young Harper's saga." She paused, searching for the right words, We will listen to all viewpoints before we proceed to a vote. Sheriff Hawkins was the first to speak, his voice thick with worry. I get that this bear has done something extraordinary, but we can't overlook the danger it poses. Grizzlies are top predators. One getting too close to humans could lead to serious problems. Nods and murmurs of agreement spread among the assembled crowd. Rising to her feet, Linda Reeves countered with intense fervor in her eyes. This bear isn't ordinary, she insisted. It displayed behaviors that challenge our understanding of grizzlies. We have a rare chance here for groundbreaking research and insight. It would be a grave error to move it or worse, put it down. The community was split, voicing diverse views as the debate wore on. Some labeled the bear a menace needing removal, while others revered it as a mystical creature, an icon of local folklore. It was Henry Morgan's turn to add his voice. Silence enveloped the room as he stood, the focus of everyone's attention after his close encounter with the bear and a young boy. Having lived in these mountains all my life, Henry started, his tone firm, I've come to know bears well, hunting them, respecting their role in nature. But the scene I stumbled upon in that cave, it was unlike anything else. He paused, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. In my search for Lucas, I discovered ancient petroglyphs depicting bears guarding human children. It appears we're facing a legacy far beyond our current understanding. A soft murmur filled the space as Mayor Thompson leaned in, intrigued. What do you propose, Mr. Dawson? Henry held her look steadily. What if we think outside the box? Rather than moving the bear or letting it wander freely, we could set up a designated sanctuary, a place where it can live without interference, yet where we can also observe and study it, perhaps even reconnect with lost parts of our heritage. The proposal lingered in the atmosphere, innovative and yet perfectly apt. Breaking the brief silence, Linda Reeves spoke up enthusiastically. A sanctuary, absolutely. We could establish it as a center for research, inviting specialists from across the globe. This could position Henryson as a pioneer in the field of wildlife conservation and research. Excitement surged through the gathering as the Harper family became the center of attention. David stood, clearing his throat to speak. Just a week ago, I would have dismissed this as madness, but observing the impact on Lucas and his enduring connection to that bear, I believe Mr. Dawson's idea has merit. Emily agreed, pulling Lucas close to her side. During the tense discussions, Lucas had remained silent, but he suddenly pointed toward the window, exclaiming, "Bear! Bear!" Silence enveloped the room. Sheriff Hawkins approached the window, his hand subconsciously drifting to his holster. However, the sight before him caused him to halt. The grizzly stood at the town's outskirts, not advancing, merely watching as though it understood the gravity of the moment. Mayor Thompson rose decisively. "This is a sign," she declared. "Let's vote on Mr. Dawson's proposal for the sanctuary. All in favor?" Hands swiftly shot up across the room, forming a majority. Even Sheriff Hawkins, after a brief pause, joined in. "It's settled then," announced the mayor. "We'll establish a sanctuary with a research facility to study this remarkable bear. Mr. Dawson, Ms. Reeves, please lead this initiative." As the meeting dissolved, the townspeople left the hall, buzzing with a mix of enthusiasm and apprehension about the ambitious project. Meanwhile, Henry, slightly overwhelmed, found himself receiving handshakes and congratulations. Outside, Lucas tugged at his parents, eager to head towards where the bear had appeared. Henry quietly joined them, walking toward the edge of town. As they drew near, the bear turned its large head their way. Lucas slipped from his parents' hold and hurried toward the bear. David started after him, but Emily stopped him, her expression one of awe and apprehension. Lucas halted a short distance from the bear, issuing gentle grunts. In response, the bear grumbled softly, dipping its head to meet the boy's gaze. They shared a moment of quiet exchange, seeming to communicate without words. Then the bear turned and began its slow trek back to the woods. Lucas watched it leave, a faint smile crossing his features. "Bear happy," he murmured. "Bear home." As the grizzly faded into the evening shadows, Henry was enveloped by a deep sense of purpose. They were venturing into uncharted territory, ready to redefine their understanding of nature and humanity's role within it. Observing the tranquility on Lucas's face, Henry felt confident they were on the correct course. Facing the unknowns and the forthcoming challenges of establishing the sanctuary, they were reviving a primal bond between humans and nature, a bond long obscured, but still remembered. Under the emerging stars, Henry silently vowed to the mountains, the bear, and Lucas that he would dedicate himself fully to this cause. The real journey was just beginning. In the weeks after the community's decision, the outskirts of Henryson Hole transformed dramatically. The area designated as Lucas's Haven, named by the community, rapidly developed. Central to this development was Henry Morgan, who, in collaboration with Linda Reeves and a cadre of wildlife specialists, devised a sanctuary that minimized human impact while preserving the bear's natural environment. "Our goal is to interfere as little as possible with its daily activities," Henry clarified to Mayor Thompson during an on-site tour. "We aim to observe and learn from the bear in its true surroundings." Spanning several acres of lush forest and meadow, the sanctuary was enclosed by a high-tech fence designed to be nearly invisible. Observation stations, equipped with the latest in camera and sensor technology, dotted the landscape, providing discrete monitoring points. The project quickly gained national and international attention, attracting scientists, conservationists, and even celebrities. This surge of interest sparked a flood of donations, funding the construction of a sophisticated research facility near the sanctuary's edge. Dr. Sofia Alvarez, a distinguished animal behavior specialist from the University of California, enthusiastically joined the Henryson Project to oversee the research operations. As she explored the facility alongside Henry, her excitement was palpable. "This is truly groundbreaking," she exclaimed, examining the early observational data. "The bear's actions continue to challenge what we think we know about grizzly behavior. It seems almost as though it's waiting for something." Henry, deep in thought, nodded in agreement. "I've noticed that too. It keeps going back to where it last interacted with Lucas. Could it be missing him?" Dr. Alvarez shook her head, her expression one of wonder. "Just a year ago, I would have dismissed such an idea as impossible. But now, all my assumptions are being questioned." Meanwhile, Lucas was navigating his own transformative journey. His parents had signed him up for a pioneering program developed by Dr. Chen, blending traditional therapy with controlled visits to the edge of the sanctuary. On one of these visits, Emily watched anxiously as Lucas stood by the sanctuary boundary, his hand touching the invisible fence. On the other side, the grizzly loomed in the shadows. "Bear," Lucas whispered, smiling as he made a sequence of soft grunts. The bear responded with a low rumble, prompting Dr. Chen to jot down notes fervently. "Their communication is astonishing," she noted. "It's almost as if they've created a unique language." As time progressed, the sanctuary turned into a bustling research hub, attracting global experts keen to study this unprecedented human-animal bond. Henryson itself thrived economically, benefiting from the surge of tourists with new businesses catering to the visitors. However, not everyone supported these changes. Frank Davis, a local rancher, led a faction opposed to the sanctuary. At a town hall, he voiced his concerns. "This isn't right," he argued. "We're disrupting natural order. This bear should be in the wild, not confined in what's essentially a fancy cage." Despite reservations from some community members, the sanctuary prospered, anchored by the presence of the grizzly bear, now fondly named Titan by those who studied it. On a clear autumn day, Henry was at his preferred observation spot, scrutinizing Titan's actions through high-powered binoculars. The bear was in a clearing, displaying an intricate sequence of movements. "What do you think, Doc?" he queried, passing the binoculars to Dr. Alvarez. Observing intently, Dr. Alvarez's eyebrows lifted in astonishment. "It looks like it's dancing. I know some bear species show rhythmic behaviors, but this is unprecedented for grizzlies." As they observed, Titan stood on its hind legs, swaying softly in a display of unexpected grace. Abruptly, an alarm echoed throughout the facility. "Henry!" He reached for his radio urgently. "What's happening?" "There's been a breach at the south entrance," a voice responded anxiously. "It's the Harper boy. He's somehow gotten inside the sanctuary." Panic gripped Henry as he and Dr. Alvarez hurried to the scene. How had Lucas bypassed their security? And critically, what would Titan's reaction be? Arriving at the clearing, they found Lucas calmly standing opposite Titan. The bear, now on all fours, regarded the boy with what seemed like cautious curiosity. "Lucas!" Emily's voice, filled with fear, rang out from the edge of the enclosure, where security held her back. Yet Lucas appeared unafraid, starting to sway as he had seen Titan do. Miraculously, Titan mimicked Lucas, engaging in a dance that blurred the lines between human and animal. Henry and Dr. Alvarez watched, spellbound. This dance was a profound manifestation of the sanctuary's mission, to foster a connection, a mutual understanding between species. As the dance wound down, Lucas gently touched Titan's muzzle. The bear responded with a low rumble, nudging Lucas gently towards the exit. This moment, this exchange, challenged preconceived notions of wild and human interaction, capturing the essence of what they had hoped to achieve with the sanctuary. When Lucas reunited with his parents, a profound silence enveloped the crowd until Henry disrupted it, turning to Dr. Alvarez with a slight grin. "Doc," he remarked, "it looks like we might need to expand our research funding." The tale of Lucas's encounter with Titan ignited a worldwide discourse on the dynamics between humans and animals and our role within nature. The sanctuary, previously just a regional interest, was now viewed as a beacon for revolutionary ideas in conservation and mutual living. At the center were a boy and a bear, an unlikely duo who had transformed global perceptions of potential harmony between humans and wildlife. As winter enveloped Henryson Hole, covering the sanctuary in a seamless white blanket, the research team stumbled upon an astonishing revelation. Dr. Alvarez rushed into Henry's office on a chilly morning, her face alight with enthusiasm. "Henry, come look at this," she urged, laying out several thermal imaging photos across his desk. "We've been tracking Titan's hibernation behaviors and just see for yourself." Henry scrutinized the photos, his expression intense. They depicted the bear's den radiating warmth from Titan's body. However, an additional smaller heat source was nestled close to the bear. "Could that be—" Henry started, barely grasping the possibility. Dr. Alvarez confirmed with a nod, excitement in her gaze. "Yes, a cub. Titan has a cub." This revelation reverberated throughout the sanctuary. They had assumed Titan was male due to its size and mannerisms, but she was female and had been pregnant throughout her interactions with Lucas. "This redefines everything," Henry said in awe, transfixed by the photos. A mother bear defending a human child while carrying her own? It challenges all our previous assumptions about bear behavior. As they pondered the ramifications of their find, Emily Harper came for Lucas's routine visit to the sanctuary. Upon hearing the news from Henry and Dr. Alvarez, Emily covered her mouth in astonishment. "Lucas knew," she murmured. "He's been mentioning a bear baby for weeks now. We all thought he was just using his imagination." The discovery of Titan's cub introduced a new layer to the ongoing research, igniting a series of questions about her intentions and the profoundness of her connection with Lucas. Throughout the winter, the team devotedly observed the den, speculating about the spring when Titan would emerge with her cub. As the mountains began to show the first signs of thaw, a sense of excitement grew within the sanctuary, with both researchers and visitors eagerly awaiting the moment. Lucas was the first to notice the change during a visit to the sanctuary. His attention shifted towards Titan's den as he brightly declared, "Bear coming," his face lighting up with joy. True to his intuition, Titan soon appeared from her den, squinting in the fresh spring light, her cub wobbling alongside her on unsteady legs. The sight of the cub, its coat fluffy and eyes filled with curiosity, softened the hearts of even the most reserved researchers. Yet what truly captivated them was Titan's demeanor. Contrary to the typical guarded nature of mother bears, Titan appeared openly proud. She led her cub to the viewing area, where Lucas and his family stood with the research team. Displaying a serene wisdom, Lucas remained motionless as the bears neared. Titan halted, issuing a gentle rumble before nudging her cub forward. The cub ambled towards Lucas, exploring him with gentle sniffs. Lucas reached out his hand cautiously, allowing the cub to examine him. He then softly stroked the cub's head, an act that moved Emily to tears. This moment was a breathtaking spectacle of interspecies connection, witnessed under the attentive gazes of both their mothers. It epitomized the sanctuary's ideals, a symbol of peaceful coexistence between humans and the natural world. This remarkable meeting spurred worldwide discussions on the possibilities of peaceful cohabitation and mutual understanding across species. The sanctuary transformed into a symbol of hope, evolving into a vital center for innovative approaches to conservation and interspecies communication. With the increasing popularity of the sanctuary came significant challenges. The surge of visitors and additional researchers strained the facility's resources, and debates arose over the safety of Lucas's close interactions with the bears, with some calling for more stringent boundaries between humans and wildlife. Henry found himself at the heart of these controversies, pushing for a measured approach that would permit ongoing research while prioritizing the safety of all involved. It was a complex balance to maintain, yet Henry was committed to navigating it successfully. As the seasons transitioned from spring to summer, Lucas's visits to the sanctuary persisted, and his connection with Titan and her cub deepened. His unique understanding of the bears was evident, surpassing even the insights of seasoned researchers. One sunny afternoon, as Lucas relaxed by a meadow, Titan and her now noticeably larger cub came near. The cub displayed a blend of youthful playfulness and emerging independence. Lucas communicated with them using a series of grunts and low sounds, a special language he had crafted with the bears. In a remarkable exchange, Titan seemed to instruct her cub to mimic these sounds. Dr. Alvarez, watching intently from a concealed spot, was thrilled. "This is groundbreaking," she murmured excitedly to Henry. "It's as if they're forging a shared language, a method to bridge the gap between species." Henry, deeply moved, recalled the ancient petroglyphs featuring humans and bears he had found while searching for Lucas. He pondered whether they had rediscovered an ancient wisdom once known, but lost over time. Could this evolving bond be the key to re-establishing a forgotten harmony with the natural world? As the sun set, bathing the sanctuary in a warm golden light, Henry observed Lucas bidding farewell to the bears. The boy embraced Titan's leg and then gently touched foreheads with the cub, mimicking their behavior. In that moment, Henry was filled with an immense sense of hope. Despite the hurdles and skepticism they encountered, they were part of something extraordinary, reshaping human-animal interactions day by day. Watching Lucas walk back to his parents, his expression radiant with joy, Henry silently committed himself to safeguarding this haven and fostering the remarkable bond between the boy and the bears. In this unique friendship, Henry saw the promise of a world where humans and animals could coexist in peace as equal partners in life's grand ballet. As autumn draped the mountains in vibrant shades of gold and crimson, the sanctuary faced an unprecedented crisis, a severe drought that drew wildlife from the surrounding areas in desperate search of sustenance and water. The established equilibrium was now in jeopardy. Standing at the main observation deck, concern etched across his face, Henry watched the dry landscape. Next to him, Dr. Alvarez reviewed troubling data on a tablet. "The situation is dire, Henry," she remarked, her expression grim. "The influx of animals is depleting our resources. We may need to consider relocating some wildlife." The thought of separating Titan and her cub from Lucas was agonizing for Henry. Their growing bond had become pivotal to their research, unlocking new insights into animal cognition and communication. "We need to find another solution," Henry asserted, his thoughts racing for alternatives. "We can't let a drought undo everything we've achieved." Amid their discussion, a disturbance at the sanctuary's entrance drew their attention. Led by Frank Davis, a group of protesters had assembled, wielding signs with slogans like "Nature knows best," "Save the bears, save the sanctuary," and "End the bear experiment." The drought had exacerbated the critical voices against the sanctuary, portraying it as a harmful interference in the natural order. Henry sighed deeply as he prepared to confront the protesters. At that moment, he noticed Lucas and his parents arriving for their usual visit. The boy's face brightened at the sight of Titan and her cub, oblivious to the escalating tension. Henry's resolve hardened. He knew he must defend the sanctuary and its purpose, not just for the sake of the bears, but for the future Lucas envisioned, one of mutual respect and understanding between humans and wildlife. Frank Davis moved forward, his tone harsh. "Enough is enough, Dawson. Your experiment is disrupting the natural balance. It's time to end this and release these creatures to their natural habitats." Henry inhaled deeply, weighing his response with care. "I appreciate your concerns, Frank, but the research we're conducting here is crucial. We're uncovering insights that could redefine our relationship with nature. We cannot simply dismiss it." As tensions escalated, Lucas quietly drifted away from his parents, heading towards Titan and her cub. Emily was the first to spot him, her voice sharp with worry. "Lucas, stop!" Everyone's attention snapped towards the boy as he neared the bears. Titan, picking up on the charged atmosphere, positioned herself defensively in front of her cub. Nevertheless, Lucas was fearless. He started emitting low, rumbling sounds that he used to communicate with the bears. To the shock of the onlookers, Titan's posture softened, stepping aside to let Lucas get closer to her cub. The young pair interacted with ease, the cub nuzzling Lucas's chest gently. Then a remarkable scene unfolded. Lucas walked over to a stream, now just a faint flow due to the drought, and began gesturing and vocalizing towards the bears. Titan appeared to listen closely, then started digging vigorously in the dry riverbed with her formidable claws. Moments later, water began to bubble up from beneath the surface. Lucas cheered, clapping his hands, then started to dig alongside Titan using his tiny plastic shovel. The bear cub copied its mother's actions. Henry and the rest watched in awe as the boy and the bears collaborated to expand the hole, soon forming a modest reservoir of water. Dr. Alvarez was the first to regain her composure. "They're creating a water source," she exclaimed, astonished. "Lucas must have detected the subterranean water and informed Titan." The sight of the boy and bears working in unison seemed to calm the protesters' fury. Even Frank Davis appeared dumbfounded. "I'll be damned," he uttered. "The boy truly does understand them." News of Lucas's remarkable feat traveled fast, igniting renewed enthusiasm for the sanctuary. Experts in conservation and water management converged on Henryson, drawn by the unique partnership between the boy and the bears. The ongoing drought transformed into a portal of opportunity. Guided by Lucas's uncanny instincts, Titan and other sanctuary animals pinpointed hidden water reserves. Merging Lucas's natural affinity with the bears and modern technological resources, they crafted innovative water conservation methods that not only served the sanctuary, but also enriched the broader area. Henry observed with immense pride as Lucas, now more mature, expertly guided a team of scientists and conservationists around the sanctuary. The young boy's knack for mediating between humans and animals had evolved into a profound skill. Dr. Alvarez approached Henry, remarking, "You know, when we initiated this endeavor, I thought we were going to teach the bears, but it seems they've taught us just as much." Henry responded with a knowing smile. "That's the true insight, isn't it? We aren't detached from nature, we are a component of it. And when we acknowledge this connection, learning to listen and collaborate, the possibilities are boundless." As dusk fell over the sanctuary, casting spectacular colors across the sky, Henry experienced a deep sense of optimism for what lay ahead. The adversities they had encountered, like the drought, the protests, and the skepticism, had only fortified their commitment and enriched their insights. In the fading evening light, Lucas could be seen sitting peacefully with Titan and her cub, their figures outlined against the sky. This serene tableau symbolized a vision of unity and potential, a world where humans and animals could coexist as allies and companions. and Henry was certain this was merely the start of their remarkable journey together. A decade had flown by since the memorable evening when Lucas Harper was saved by a grizzly bear in the mountainous regions of Henryson Hole. The sanctuary, initially a subject of much debate, had evolved into a globally acclaimed hub for the study of conservation and cross-species communication. Now in his early 60s, Henry Morgan stood at his preferred vantage point, a contented smile marking his lined face as he observed the activity below. Lucas, now in his late teens, expertly guided a group of young learners through the sanctuary, with Titan's cub, now an adult bear, strolling beside him, exuding the seamless confidence of a creature fully accustomed to both the wilderness and human interactions. "It's astonishing to see the progress we've made," Dr. Alvarez remarked, approaching Henry at the overlook. Her hair showed strands of grey, yet her eyes gleamed with undiminished zeal, reminiscent of her enthusiasm from 10 years earlier. "Lucas's contributions are transforming our understanding of how animals think and communicate." Henry responded with a nod, his heart swelling with pride. Lucas had matured into an exceptional young adult, his profound connection with the bears laying the groundwork for pioneering studies. The sanctuary had grown significantly, now boasting a cutting-edge research facility and an educational center. "Remember when we believed we were merely studying one remarkable bear?" Henry said with a light laugh. "Now, we're redefining chapters in textbooks about interspecies dialogue." They observed, as Lucas directed his group to a nearby clearing, where several bears congregated. Through an array of hand signals and vocal sounds, he appeared to introduce the students to the bears. The animals interacted with inquisitive sniffs and soft grunts, displaying none of the hostility one might anticipate from wild grizzlies. "It's not only the bears benefiting," Dr. Alvarez continued. "Lucas's methodologies are now influencing conservation strategies globally. We've observed advancements in elephant communication in Africa and the reintroduction of wolves in Europe." Their discussion paused when Emily Harper approached. Although her hair had turned grey and wrinkles framed her eyes, she exuded a youthful vigor in her stride. "Henry, Sophia," she greeted them cheerfully. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not in the slightest," Henry responded warmly. "We were just reflecting on the sanctuary's remarkable development. How's David doing?" Emily's expression dimmed briefly. He's still somewhat hesitant about Lucas's career choice, but he's beginning to see the light. The worldwide impact of Lucas's efforts is starting to resonate with him. The trio shared a moment of quiet contemplation, watching as Lucas wrapped up his session. The young man exchanged a heartfelt embrace with Titan's adult cub before escorting the awestruck students back to the education center. "We're holding a small celebration tonight," Emily mentioned after a pause, "for the sanctuary's 10th anniversary. We'd be thrilled if you both could join." As the evening sun bathed the sanctuary in a golden hue, Henry found himself amongst many familiar faces. The Harper home, situated on a hill with a view of the sanctuary, buzzed with individuals pivotal to the sanctuary's success. Lucas, now a tall teenager resembling his father in features, but with his mother's intense gaze, was the focus of everyone. He navigated through the crowd with ease, engaging scientists with talk of his research and captivating children with tales of his in-game adventures. Henry observed him with a blend of pride and awe, recalling the scared little boy they had rescued from a cave, now transformed into a poised young man. "Penny, for your thoughts?" A gruff voice broke into his musings. Henry turned to see Frank Davis by his side, holding a whiskey glass in his calloused hand. "Frank," Henry exclaimed, his surprise giving way to delight. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." The seasoned rancher shrugged nonchalantly. "Thought it was time to see what all the commotion was about. I'll admit, Dawson, you've really created something extraordinary here." Before Henry could reply, Lucas walked over, his expression brightening upon seeing the old rancher. "Mr. Grimes, I'm thrilled you could join us. Have you met Luna yet?" Frank's eyebrows lifted in curiosity. "Luna?" With a wide smile, Lucas explained, "She's Titan's great-granddaughter, born just this spring. Let me introduce you." As Lucas escorted Frank toward the sanctuary's latest member, chatting eagerly, Henry found himself smiling at the scene. The young man who had once communicated with bears was now just as effective at bridging gaps between people. Later that evening, as the festivities began to quiet down, Henry joined David Harper on the back porch. They shared a moment of silence, gazing out over the sanctuary. "After all these years, I was really worried," David finally confessed. "I feared Lucas's deep connection with these wild animals might end in disaster." He paused, taking a sip of his drink. "But now, seeing him today, understanding the impact of his work, it fills me with immense pride." Henry placed a reassuring hand on David's shoulder. "He's truly remarkable. Both you and Emily have every reason to be proud." Just then, Lucas burst onto the porch. "Dad, Henry, quick, Luna's near the sanctuary's edge. I want you to meet her." Together, they walked to the sanctuary's boundary. There, a young grizzly bear stood just beyond the invisible fence. Her coat was a deep brown, her gaze intelligent and inquisitive. Lucas communicated with her using soft sounds and gestures, and Luna stepped closer, pressing a paw against the clear barrier. Lucas mirrored her, his hand touching hers through the invisible divide. "She says hello," Lucas interpreted, his voice brimming with awe and happiness. "She's honored to meet her great-grandmother's friends." Witnessing this extraordinary exchange, Henry felt a surge of optimism. What had begun as a daring venture to preserve a unique bond between a boy and a nurturing bear had blossomed into a powerful symbol of a new paradigm for human-nature interactions, a testament to the potential for harmony and understanding across species. In that serene moment, under the starlit sky with the harmonious whispers of the forest around them, Henry was deeply aware that their mission was far from complete. However, he was equally certain that with Lucas at the helm, bridging the gap between species, the realm of possibility was boundless. The saga of a boy and his bear was just beginning to unfold, destined to leave a profound mark on future generations. As dawn illuminated the sanctuary on a crisp autumn morning, Lucas Harper stood at the edge of a well-known clearing. At 25, he had matured into a tall, lean figure, radiating a calm assurance that seemed beyond his years. Beside him was Henry Morgan, now in his 70s, still alert and agile. "Are you sure about this, Lucas?" Henry asked, his voice tinged with both concern and anticipation. Lucas nodded, his smile resolute. "It's time, Henry. We've achieved so much here, yet there's still a vast world beyond. We need to extend our discoveries globally. Today marks the start of a new chapter." After years of innovative research and conservation efforts, Lucas was set to begin an international journey aimed at applying the sanctuary's successful communication techniques and conservation strategies to endangered species worldwide. As they spoke, the underbrush rustled, heralding Luna's arrival. Now a magnificent adult grizzly, she moved towards Lucas with a comfortable familiarity, gently pressing her head against his shoulder as a greeting. Lucas rested his hand on her fur, pausing a moment, his eyes briefly clouded with emotion. "I'm going to miss you, old friend," he murmured softly, "but I'll be back, I promise." Henry observed this heartfelt farewell, his throat tightening with emotion. He reminisced about the scared little boy they had discovered in the woods years ago, now transformed into a visionary leader. Lucas's skill in communicating with bears had broadened to include various species. His innate grasp of animal behavior, enhanced by thorough scientific inquiry, had pioneered new avenues in conservation and the study of animal cognition. Under Lucas's stewardship, the sanctuary had not only thrived, but had become a benchmark for conservation efforts globally. Scientists and conservationists from around the world visited to learn from their techniques, eager to integrate Lucas's innovative approaches into their own projects. Yet Lucas felt an urge to challenge their achievements in a broader context. With backing from a global consortium of conservation groups, he had meticulously organized this ambitious expedition. As the sun rose higher, Emily and David Harper joined them, emotional as they prepared to bid farewell to their son. Emily's eyes glistened with tears as she embraced Lucas tightly. "I'm incredibly proud of you," she said softly. "You've transformed a miracle into a purpose." David, who had initially doubted Lucas's unconventional journey, now radiated pride. "You're making a difference in the world, son. Just remember to stay safe," he advised. Lucas embraced his father in response. "I will, Dad. I'll make sure to keep in touch regularly," he assured. As Lucas adjusted his backpack and got ready to depart, a disturbance on the periphery of the area captured everyone's attention. A group of eager young researchers and students from the Sanctuary's educational initiative had assembled to bid him farewell. Among them was Mia Tang, a gifted young biologist who had been collaborating closely with Lucas over the last few years. Mia moved forward, her eyes sparkling with both admiration and a deeper sentiment. "We'll keep things running smoothly here," she declared, her voice slightly hoarse. "Just don't forget about us here when you're out there changing the world." Lucas smiled and embraced her briefly. "Impossible," he whispered back. Their silent bond was evident, hinting at a shared future that was yet to be revealed. As Lucas started to walk away, Luna, the bear, emitted a deep, sorrowful sound. She stood on her hind legs, towering over the crowd. Lucas turned back, gently touching her snout one last time. "I understand, girl," he spoke gently. "I'll miss you too, but in a way I'm not truly leaving. Every creature I assist, every environment we protect, it's all a tribute to what you've taught me here." With one last wave to his loved ones, Lucas began his journey along the path leading out of the sanctuary and into the broader world. Henry watched him leave, his emotions a tangled mix of pride, nostalgia, optimism, and a hint of melancholy. "Well," he remarked, turning to Emily and David, "it looks like we're beginning a new chapter." Emily agreed, dabbing her eyes. Isn't it remarkable how one profound event can transform so many lives and ignite such widespread positive change?" As they strolled back to the main complex of the sanctuary, Henry found himself immersed in thoughts of their remarkable journey, from that harrowing night when a toddler vanished into the wilderness, to the extraordinary bond that developed between the boy and a bear, to the founding of this sanctuary which had transformed our grasp of animal cognition and conservation. Now, Lucas was poised to take those insights globally. Henry could only envision the influence Lucas would wield, forging connections between humanity and nature. Reaching the hill's peak, Henry paused to survey the sanctuary. He observed the bears roaming their domain serenely, the researchers engaging diligently at their posts, and the students keenly soaking up knowledge that would mold the future of conservation. In that moment, Henry experienced a deep sense of fulfillment. The saga that had started with a boy lost and a bear's titanship had evolved into something vastly more significant than he had ever anticipated. It had become a symbol of hope, a demonstration of the potential for coexistence between humans and the environment. As the sun ascended, casting the sanctuary in vibrant golds and greens, Henry recognized that this was not a conclusion, but rather an onset. Lucas's expedition was merely beginning, heralding a new era in the ongoing narrative of human interaction with the natural world. The legacy of the boy and the bear was set to expand, influencing lives and altering viewpoints worldwide. And here, in this sanctuary cradled by the Wyoming mountains, the extraordinary bond between species would persist, thriving as a vibrant testament to the possibilities that unfold when we embrace the wonders of nature with open hearts and minds.